Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So today we continue to discuss about the Eightfold Paths. The second one, the right intention. So last time we discussed about how we need to develop the mind of renunciation. Has been to let go of all the bad thoughts, the bad deeds, uh, and forgive all the mistake. And we discussed about how we need to be generous. And so last time we talked briefly about the compassion. That's one of the uh, important uh, thoughts that we need to have so that we can share uh, with other people in compassionate way. So last time we talked about how the Buddha taught in the Metta Sutra uh, that we need to spread that type of loving kindness and compassion toward other people, regardless of who they are, whether they're strong or weak, whether they are two legs, four legs, and so forth, uh, whether they rich or poor. We spread that kind of loving kindness and compassion to everyone of them without any kind of discrimination, without any kind of ill will. So today I continue to discuss about some benefits of developing loving kindness and compassion. So in the discourse on benefits of loving kindness, the Buddha lists out 11 benefits that mm, are derived from practicing metta, that means compassion. So first, the Buddha mentioned that as soon as we develop loving kindness, we will have a good sleep. We could be relaxed and sleep peacefully. So again, when we care for others, when we spread compassion toward others, when we help other people, so we would not harbor any anxiety, any stress, any worriness, and so forth in our mind. That's why it's easy for us to be relaxed. It's easy for us to sleep peacefully because we bring the happiness and joyfulness to other people. So there are no need for us to be stressed out. Of course, when we harm others, definitely we would mm, have some thought of regretfulness about that type of act. But as long as we help other people without compassion, so definitely we feel more joyful and relax ourselves. That's why it's much easier for us to go to sleep with that type of act, the compassionate act and the compassionate mind. And number two, the Buddha said that when we have that kind of compassion, we would wake up uh, and mm, feel well because as long as we have a good sleep, we would not have any kind of nightmare. And as long as we refresh our body and mind uh, completely, so definitely when we wake up, we would feel well. and we would mm, recognize that we could connect with other people, whether they are our family members, our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers, and even the stranger. So again, because of that kind of freshness, uplifting energy, we would mm, uh, feel that kind of joyfulness for the rest of our life or the rest of the day too. That is the second benefit. Uh, so the third one is we would not likely to have nightmare when we practice generosity, when we practice compassion and loving kindness. We would enjoy our companies with other people, would bring the joyfulness and happiness to them. So there's no way for us to have the nightmare. Nightmare maybe happens because if we harm others, if we create problems for ourselves and others, uh, with those kind of bad image and action, even the speech. But as long as we help other people with our compassion, love, and kindness, so there's no way for us to have nightmare at all. And number four, the Buddha said that when we have that kind of compassion, our body would relax and our face would be more joyful because the body um, reflects how our mind are functioning. So if we have the compassionate thought, we will feel more relaxed. Uh, when we feel uh, and recognize the goodness in everyone else, we would spread that type of love, that type of compassion to others. And so definitely our place would be more joyful, uh, beautiful. So it's opposite with the moment when we so angry, when we so frustrated. Definitely our facial expression is uh, quite terrible to look. So again, as much as we have that type of compassion and loving kindness that spread to other people, we would not mm, need to worry anything about uh, uh, because we could bring the joyfulness and happiness to others with our compassions. So that's why it would be expressed uh, bodily uh, uh, and facially too. So that is the number four. With that kind of compassion, our body and face will be more joyful, will be more relaxed. And number five, even animals and celestial beings feel drawn to us. When we practice loving kindness, our mind would generate a peaceful uh, feeling surrounding us. And that's why all the children would recognize that kind of power still energy, and even the non-human could recognize as kind of vibrations. Especially for the pet, the dog and cat, when we have that kind of state of mind, compassionate state of mind, they would recognize us, they would more delightful to follow us. But on the other hand, if we so angry, if we so stressful and yell at them, definitely they would not like to follow us. So again, uh, so the animals or the children or even the celestial beings, they could catch that type of vibration, the aura, or energies that we spread out with our compassion. And number six, the Buddha said that the spirit would protect us. So the spirit here, um, in the terms of spiritual beings, like the celestial beings, the voice beings, and so forth. Because of loving kindness, we spread to other people. Those invisible beings could recognize that aura, that kind of vibrations that is spread out with our compassion and loving kindness. So they would feel peacefulness uh, and calmness when they get close to us. That's why they would have um, the chance to support us, to protect us. Like in daily life, we love to hang around with good people, with the positive, compassionate people. So whichever thing they do, we would try to help them out if they encounter some kind of difficulties uh, that may endanger their life. If we have ability, we could step out to protect them. So do the spiritual beings, individual beings. So as much as they recognize how lovely we are, how compassionate we are, definitely uh, it's more chance that they will step out to protect us invisibly. So again, number seven, uh, the Buddha said that the fire, poisons, and weapons may not harm us. There's the story that's uh, famous in the Buddhist cycle. Uh, there's a young novice. Somehow, the master sent him back to see his parents or families because this master could foresee this young boy future that he would pass away within 7 days. So he has short lifespan. So that's why the master sent him back to his families to meet with them the last time. But somehow, after 7 days, uh, this young novice came back to see the master after visiting his families. So the master was so surprised and asked him, "How could you be here again? I thought that something happened to you. So what happened on the way then?" So this young novice said, "Well, while I was walking uh, from the temple to my home to visit my families, I came across to a creek and I saw many ants that fall down to the stream. And somehow I used the branch uh, as a bridge for them to get out of the stream and be safe. So the master said, "Well, no wonder why, because you saved those ants, and that could help you to prolong expand the lifespan." Another story is that uh, in the uh, five sermon, the Buddha said that there's no fire like greed, no misfortune like hatred, no suffering like delusions. This is a well-known story that relates to one of the Buddha female disciple. Her name is Uttara. She is so devoted to the Buddha that when she got married with a man who did not pay any respect to the Buddha, and so she would not have the chance to go to see and listen to Buddha's sermon for more than 2 months. So one day, when she heard the news that the Buddha was in town, so she asked uh, her husband permission to visit and listen to the Buddha teachings. And of course, at first, her husband is so hesitant because he didn't believe in the Buddha yet. So somehow Uttara uh, had a thought that he would hire a courtesan, a prostitute, to serve her husband about 15 days while she'll be away, so that that courtesan could make her husband happy while she will be away, to uh, offer the Buddha food as well as listen to his sermon. So of course, before she went to see the Buddha, she uh, went to the kitchen to do the cooking by herself with other servants that happened her around. So somehow her husband came down to kitchen and looked at her, and somehow he felt sorry for her and for the courtesan. Her name was Sirima. At that moment, she was jealous toward Uttara, and she threw the boiling water uh, to Uttara. And at that moment, when Uttara, the lady that devout uh, her life to the Buddhas, she uh, brought up the compassionate thought and loving kindness toward that courtesan. And at the same time, when uh, the courtesan pour the hot water, hot boiling water to Uttara face, because of Uttara loving kindness and compassion, uh, that water could not burn her face at all. So uh, when her servants saw what's happening, so they tackled down Sindrima and began to beat her. But somehow Uttara stopped them uh, and said, uh, Sirima from being beaten. At that moment, uh, Uttara bathed this courtesan with the warm waters and massaged her body with herbs and oils um, to smooth the wounds. And at that times, this courtesan, she felt so remorse and stood up. She fell down to the ground and begged for Uttara forgiveness. So Uttara said that she would forgive her if the Buddha advice approved. So the next day, Srima went with Uttara to see the Buddha to ask for forgiveness, and she tried to explain what she uh, have did have done to Uttara. So at that time, the Buddha asked Uttara how she felt as Sirima was pouring the boiling water on her. So Uttara said that I was grateful to Sirima for serving my husband, So I could spend 2 weeks with the noble communities. I have no ill will toward her, only loving kindness. So the Buddha praised Uttara that well done. By not having ill will, you were able to conquer the one who abused you. By being generous, you conquer the one who is stinginess. By speaking the truth, you conquer the one who lies. So upon the advice of Buddha, Uttara forgive Shirima mistake. And of course, that courtesan later on took refuge in the Buddha. And so that story mentioned as, of course, is, go beyond our human thinking. How could someone pour the hot water onto other people's face, but that water could not harm that lady? Uh, so basically, because of her loving kindness and compassion toward the courtesan, that's why that water could not harm her. So there was another story that relate to a man uh, uh, somehow uh, his wife used to visit the Buddha to listen to Buddha sermon, and so he was so angry about that. So he went to see the Buddha and asked Buddha, uh, uh, what kind of people uh, we should kill. So the Buddha responded, well, we should kill anger. So at first, this man, he thought that he would trick the Buddha because according to the Buddha teaching, uh, there's no way for Buddhists to kill other people. So that's why he asked the Buddha, who could he kill? So the Buddha said that he need to kill his own anger. So he so admired of the Buddha response, and later on he became a monk. Uh, so um, another story that relate to how uh, when a a person who was not affected by a poison that people try to kill him because he spread his loving kindness toward them. So again, the Buddha remind us that as long as we have compassion, we would protect ourselves from fire, poisons, and so forth. Here, the Buddha say the fire represented by greed, hatred, and delusion, and of course, they are considered the poison of the mind too. So when we practice loving kindness, our mind will be more calm and peaceful, and we would not allow the greed and the hatred um, that would arise in our heart. That's why in the uh, Universal Law chapter in the Lotus Sutra, they say that the one the Alokavissava, Bodhisattva, or compassionate Bodhisattva, made the vows that whoever decide his name or her names would have um, uh, dispel their anger, hatred, and delusions. So basically, it is symbolic way of explanation that as long as we develop our compassion, so the greedy mind or the angry mind would not arise in our mind. So that's why when we uh, are peace with ourselves, we could tame the fire of anger, the fire of greed. And that's what's the meaning in the subtle ways, subtle or profound meanings. And number 8, the Buddha said that our mind will immediately become calm when we spread the loving kindness toward other people, we have that kind of calmness and peacefulness, because we recognize that people would feel more at peace when they deal with us, when they interact with us, because we care for them, we love them, we compassionate uh, toward them. So that is the way we can calm our mind down, as well as other people mind too. And number nine, the Buddha said that our complexions will be brightened. And so, due to the compassionate mind, it would affect to our bodily expression, our facial expression too. When we have that kind of compassionate thought, the joy will arise in our mind. At that moment, we could notice how our complexions will be brightened, uh, and will be more delightful because of that kind of compassion. So uh, the bodily expression, or facial expression, uh, come from the thought of the mind. If we have compassionate mind, definitely our face will be more brightened, our body action, expression will be more joyful, and peaceful. So number 10, the Buddha said that when it's time for us to pass away, um, we will pass away with a clear mind, with a peaceful mind. Uh, Now here, we would not need to think about that the moment that we pass away. But let's talk about um, when we go to sleep at night, like the Buddha has mentioned recently. As much as we keep our mind at peace and compassionate, we would go to sleep peacefully, and we wake up calmly. So uh, in the same way, if it's happened for us that we need to go, we need to pass away, we would pass away in a peaceful way, uh, in a calm way, um, with that kind of calmness and peacefulness. We would have a clear mind to move to the next destinations. So there's no need for us to be worried. There's no need for us to be dreadful of things we do, because we spread that type of loving kindness and compassion toward other people. And we know in the sense that we never harms uh, or make other people suffer. So that's why it's easy for us to move on with that kind of peacefulness and calmness, uh, and with that kind of mental state of mind, our mind will be more clear. We have more wisdom to choose our next destination, where we head into. There was another story. Samavati, the wife of the king Buddha, has declared a chief among the one who practice compassion. Somehow, because of the jealousy, she was born alive, while leading the loving kindness to for all the court ladies. So uh, somehow at that time, uh, because of her compassion, the lady Samavati, even she was born alive with 500 court ladies. Uh, mm, uh, she passed away peacefully, and all of them was born in the heaven. Uh, and the moment that she passed away, she has the clear mind that our body many lifetimes have been born over again uh, through the cycle of birth and death. So with that kind of last word expression is so powerful that all the founders, Coach Lady, the one who died along her side, were inspired to practice compassion in their final moment. And at that moment, their mind were free and were born in the heaven. Again, um, this is one of the story that illustrate how when we invoke mindfulness practice and compassion, uh, even we were harmed by others, but our mind will be free from any kind of mental afflictions and on the verge of death. It's easy for us uh, to be reborn in the pleasant, a good destiny like heaven or human realm or even the Buddha land. So it's so important for us to remember this kind of lesson or story. So number 11, the Buddha said that when we pass away in peace too. So at the time of death, we even have not comprehend the highest truth. Um, Even we still mm, go to the cycle of rebirth, but we would have that kind of peace and happiness uh, as well as the clear mind that would lead us to the good destinations. And that's why it's so important for us to practice loving kindness toward other people. Let me take this opportunity to show you these short video clips about how we need to spread compassion around. Mm. And let's keep this ad for a while.
This is not your regular airport anticipation. It's a scene that's played out across the country as Syrian refugees are welcomed to Canada.
It's not every day that we get the privilege to play a small part in somebody else's lives and to help them start a new life, especially in this beautiful country.
So we're just tagging along this
I
time.
know.
And it's also not every day that life seems to come full circle.
I didn't think I'd be this emotional. The anticipation is that they are going to be very grateful, just like Young's family was.
It was young Tran Davies who was on the other side of the arrivals door nearly 40 years ago. The Vietnam War had ended and tens of thousands of Vietnamese were fleeing the communist regime, many heading out in rickety boats across the South China Sea.
My mom felt that there was nothing left in Vietnam, that she put her faith or her trust in God when she decided to abandon everything and gathered us up and take us to sea on the boat.
Her mother was a seamstress and a widow with 6 children. Tran Davies was just 5 years old when the family made that dangerous journey.
I do remember being in the boat and being cramped up in the boat. Apparently there were 300 other people there, and we were at the bottom of this wooden boat at sea, and it was suffocating down there, and it was nauseating.
The family eventually arrived at a refugee camp in Malaysia where they spent 8 months before a church group from Alberta reached out and brought the family to Canada.
The priest announced to us that we were going to be sponsoring a special family. It was a widow with 6 children. Not everyone wanted to sponsor a family like that because they thought there would be a burden on society. Well, let me tell you, this family has been anything but a burden. They're really well-qualified Canadians.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, Tran Davies is a doctor,
Good.
practicing in rural Alberta, but never far from her mind her first memories of Canada.
I don't know if they make dolls like this anymore.
She was given this doll when she arrived in Edmonton in July of 1979, a moment captured by the local newspaper.
I frame it and I have it hung up on the wall because it's a constant reminder that we need to do the same, that we need to pass on the kindness that we received.
Which is why she's now getting ready to welcome a family from Syria with the help of a group of friends.
This is the place.
Some of those who sponsored her all those years ago.
The living room is quite spacious.
The group had to find suitable housing. They've been given a family which includes a single mother and her 5 children. They've been told it could cost up to $40,000 for 1 year of sponsorship, and while the government will contribute some money, they have to be prepared to support the family for the first year.
So these are the donations that we've gathered up. We've gone into the city almost every weekend.
So Tran collected donations, money, and household items, which quickly piled up in her garage.
A few bags of clothes and from this area.
Meanwhile, her sponsorship family was in Lebanon, waiting with other Syrians to board a plane to come to Canada. Tran Davies was told they could get very little notice about when the family would actually arrive, so in December, she and her group rented a house and began getting it ready.
We're trying to put some of the furniture in place, get the bed and mattresses put together, and maybe the dining table today, if possible.
Then they waited anxiously.
I really do look forward to that moment and to see their faces as they come through the doors and to know that they're, that they're finally safe, away from the war, away from the war, away from, the harsh conditions that they're living in. For the mother to know that this is the moment, the beginning of the rest of their lives. Hello.
Then one late February evening, finally, a first meeting.
We've been waiting for so long for you. Welcome to Edmonton.
A moment that mirrored another from years ago.
37 years ago, someone gave me a doll. So this is where
Likely overwhelming and a blur for the littlest in this group. They've been traveling for hours and any communication has to be done through a translator.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks God that they are here.
Yeah, we thank God that you're here safely. Welcome to your new home.
A fresh start for one family after another paid it forward. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Edmonton.
Okay, so you see that how joyful this Vietnamese lady was when she received the Syrian refugees, because that's happened to her when she was young. Her families were sponsored by the Kenyan families, and that helped her to have the chance to go to university and become a doctor. So with that type of gratitude, she tried to repay the kindness of those people who have helped her before by sponsoring those Syrian refugees, so that they could have the chance to live peacefully, happily, and successfully in the new countries. So again, when we are compassionate, when we are, have that kind of loving kindness, we be more joyful and happy to help others. Of course, we could bring the joy and happiness to other people. So again, for that lady, without getting help from others, she would not have the chance to become a doctor. But now she recognized that type of opportunities that she had in the new country, and this is her turn to help others. So again, with that kind of compassion that we receive from others, we need to spread that kind of love with kindness to other too, so that we could help other people to live peacefully and happily. And yeah, definitely we would have our communities and society to have uh, the harmonies and the peacefulness within that society and communities. So the love and kindness is so important that I want us need to instill, and that's why Dalai Lama he say that my religion is compassion. So he identified himself, or even his religions, as in Buddhism, as the compassionate religion. So that's why, like last week, I explained that in Buddhist uh, traditions and history, there's no holy war that happened uh, in this tradition because we always based upon love and kindness and compassion, no matter what kind of people treat us, uh, if they mistreat us, abuse us, and so forth, we're not supposed to revenge, harbor any kind of anger or resentment toward them, because we know uh, that the moment we have the resentment in our mind, we harm ourselves and others. The moment that we develop love and kindness toward other people, we uh, could bring the joy of peacefulness and happiness toward ourselves and others. So that's why love and kindness is so important in our life. Uh, so let me tell you a story before I end today. So this one famous holy monk in India, he was the student of Nagarjuna, the one that was considered as the second Buddha. So his name is Arya. He is so famous because of his eloquence and skillful means uh, of expertise in teaching Buddhism. That's why he helped many people uh, to overcome their difficulties and sufferings in life, and they became Buddhists, and that raised some kind of jealousy uh, from others, non-Buddhist people. And so one day, while he was walking in the forest, so one Brahmin approached to him and stopped him to death. At that moment, this Arhat or holy man said that you better run away from this sins because my unenlightened student would not let you go. So of course that Brahman, the one who stopped uh, uh, the holy man, run away from the sin, and later on his student knew that he was starved to death. They ran approached to him and asked for uh, the uh, uh, assessor, the one that killed him. So this master, the holy Buddhist monk, said that, well, you supposed not supposed to chase after him. If you chase after him, you guys are ignorance like him. He killed my body, but he could not kill my mind. So that story illustrates how compassionate that holy monk's was, and how um, uh, patient he was even on the verge of his death. So that's why in Buddhism, to have compassion and loving kindness is so important, that we could transcend the uh, afflictions that we have in our mind, as well as the other affliction that people could bring upon us. So since time is up, let me end today, and we'll discuss more next time. Nam Mô Shakyamuni Buddha. See you soon. Thank you.